Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we got a game in Konigsberg for Admiral Hipper's on the screen. Yamamoto, Dimitri Dewey, slot 3. We got AP pen slash damage on there. All AP all day on this ship. That's how I like to run my Germans. They got the highest damage AP in the game, I believe, for the cruisers. It's devastating. Dimitri Dewey, a lot of people kind of slam that inspiration. I don't think they really appreciate the value of it. You get 2-3 extra degrees of treating the ship fully broadside, and that's substantial. It basically makes it harder to defend yourself against the AP for these ships. And when you got high alpha damage AP coming at you, you want to be trying to defend yourself as best as possible. But when you're going against a ship that has that inspiration on it, it becomes that much harder. You got to angle even more steeply. So if you're caught in the middle of a turn, shots coming in, well, if you got it going just a little bit too late, you can get wrecked instead of bouncing those shells. Yamamoto, of course, increases the AP penetration, and we're going to see the results of that build on this ship in this game here. Sad thing about this game is the shooting actually really... I mean, we end up wrecking the majority of the team, but the shooting's not that great. I was rocking out to the Who's a quick one while he's away from the Rock and Roll Circus Rolling Stones video. From the 60s, I believe. And so I was kind of jamming out. Missed a couple shots that I wish I could have back now that I watched this video. Could have wound up killing about 7 or 8 ships, I think. Nonetheless, this is going to still demonstrate the power of the Konigsberg. Note the turret traverse, or the turret setup in the back there. Staggered turrets, and you can see there, if you're pointing the guns off the right-hand side of the ship, you can be basically pointed almost directly at them, and you can get all 3 guns on the ship. That means it's very hard for cruisers, destroyers to do big damage to this thing with the guns if it's playing well. If you got them pointed to the left, we'll see a couple salvos like that, then you got to be much more broadside. Enemy Konigsberg pushing in here, we're going into A. Don't mind grounding here. We're nice and angled against him, and we got that island between us and his support ship, so there's no problem grounding there, and he gone right off the bat. Ooh boy, rocked him there with a quad citadel shot. And took him down in 2 salvos there with a little bit of help from our friends. But Konigsberg, you gotta understand how dangerous this thing is. Assuming the opponent that's running it understands the value of the AP, and especially if they have the build set up correctly, at least in my view, with the focus on the AP, you can get shredded by this ship, and it really doesn't matter what you're in. Anything this thing's gonna be facing is susceptible to big damage from these guns. So definitely, you want to understand which ships that are roaming around out there that should just be killed right off the bat, like radar cruisers, destroyers. Yes, of course, but Konigsberg, because of the danger of this ship, similar to like T-61 or even Warspite, these are some of the best ships in the game. And if you can go ahead and get rid of them before they can ruin your day, then you're going to have better results here. This is one of the things I was talking about. The Doogie here, missing a couple shots that I wish we could get back. I think we could have killed this guy, but nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and shred him. And note, again, we're just trying to keep the guns on the right-hand side of the ship whenever possible. And look at the firing angles there on the diagram in the center of the screen on the bottom there. That's very steeply angled. Now, if that Doogie wants to shoot us with the AP, we're going to be bouncing those shots. Battleships, of course, can have quite a bit of success with this thing. So, especially as a battleship player, you need to be primarily targeting the cruisers anyway. That's kind of your main job. But Konigsberg, if it pops up out there, just go ahead and get rid of it, because it's going to cause your team lots of consternation and pain and anguish. So we cleared the site off here. Looks like our team's kind of getting swarmed on C. They're taking them out. We're actually down a ship at this point in time. Tied in caps, but we're down about 50 points, 60 points, whatever it is. So we're going to try and do our best here. Here's another whiff shot. I don't know. That didn't look like the worst aim, but maybe we just aimed a little bit too low there. Gonna wind up missing that. That could have easily been a devastating strike on the Carl. Carl, whenever I shoot at that thing, it seems like it's a little bit harder to settle than most of the Tier 3 cruisers, but nonetheless, if he's going to be pointing broadside like he is there, you can see on the diagram he's actually more angled than it appears on the screen. And that's why I always recommend when you're fighting ships, if you can take a moment just to verify their angling on the map. A lot of times when you're just viewing them on the main game screen, like that, it looks pretty broadside right there, but it's still relatively well angled. But nonetheless, you know, due to the fact that we got Dimitri Dewey on there, and we're just kind of trying to aim for the middle of the ship there. We're getting some pretty juicy shots. No citadels, but decent damage. He ends up grounding there, so we whiffed that shot, and I think someone may... I can't remember if we kill this one or not, but he's going to go down pretty quickly here. Oh, no, we actually kill him. That was a blind fire shot. We just aimed right over the island there, and you can see the shots coming in. And even though we didn't have him targeted, didn't even have him visible on the screen there, we were able to take him out for the second kill. So we got a cap, we got 2 kills. We're still down a ship. Unfortunately, now the lead's kind of grown to 90, and that's, of course, because they have 2 caps. We only have 1. Most of our team is in the northeast side of the map here. Most of they control the southeast, or they control the southeast. We control the northwest, I should say. I always get my directions backwards. But we're going to be pushing into B as aggressively as possible. Now, when we're playing this game here, we got to be distinctly aware of where the battleship is at all times. Because, of course, the battleships, doesn't really matter which one, they can all blow us up with ease. So that's the main thing that we're worried about in this particular game. If we can keep islands between us, or we keep him out of the range of our ship, all the better. Marblehead's trying to angle against us. He recognizes the threat there. He grounds just to stop the ship. Then he's going to be beginning to back up. So when he's angling there, we could probably switch over to HE. No, we got a, what is it, 6-second reload or whatever on this thing. Switch over to Furutaka, though, because he's broadside. He's going a little bit slow, kind of whiffs. We kind of whiffed that first shot, but we're not going to miss him too many times here. And then note this here, all those ships blocked by those islands. So if we keep the islands between us and the bulk of their team, then we can kind of engage these ships one at a time. Usually you want to be limiting how many ships on the enemy team can shoot you at once. It doesn't really matter what ship you're in. If you got 5 guys targeting you, 5 guys shooting you at once, doesn't matter if you're in the Vlad, doesn't matter if you're in the Konigsberg, all those ships are going to wither under that type of fire. We're trying to move forward here, get around this island. We do have that Furutaka still broadside, and then Marblehead coming around. We're going to throw some torps down there just in case. You never know. Marblehead's also another ship with some blistering AP, so just in case something happens, well, he gone as well, but we get the torps down anyway just in case. You never really know. And the torpedoes, what are you going to do with them? Just throw them out in the water. They don't really do much damage when they're sitting on your ship. So I like to throw them out there even if they're low percentage shots. But that's basically 2 dev strikes with just the AP guns and these things. And we haven't really taken too much damage here. Got a couple low Krasny Krims. We got the high caliber. Just 7 minutes in the match, so we're not even halfway through the match. And we're just kind of shredding these guys there. There's another kill that could have easily had. Unfortunately, we didn't get a hold of that one. But we're continuing to move in here. We got a guy on B. I was considering getting into the cap to help him cap it. But again, I'm trying to get those guns on the right-hand side to engage Krasny. Furutaka pops up, though, and he's perfectly broadside here. So we don't mind swinging around, get the guns on the left side here, shoot him forward again. I don't know if that was the same Furutaka that we missed, you know, by leading him earlier. Nonetheless, once we get the shots off here, he's continuing to be broadside. And this is kind of one of the, you know, when we're talking about best ship in the game, we're talking about at its tier, of course, and the competition it's facing. Tier 3, Tier 4 cruisers, all juicy citadels, all juicy targets, and a lot of the guys playing those ships are still kind of, either they don't know anything about angling or they're still trying to incorporate it in the game. So you're going to get a lot of juicy shots that you wouldn't necessarily see at higher tiers. Unfortunately, our guy got off of B, so we're pinging that, and we're just going to back up. I'm angling against that Ishizuki, hoping he doesn't shoot us. I'm also like backing up here. We'd like to get this Krasny if possible, but we're going to back into the cap. If nobody on our team is going to cap the cap, we got to do it. We can't get mad at our team for not doing it. If we're aware of the importance of capping the bases and nobody else in our team is, then it's our job to do it. So unfortunately there we had HE loaded. I think he was at least initially broadside enough to wing him there, but he did turn out. We did flip back to AP there, you can see. And if you're noticing this game, as long as we have anything that's remotely broadside, we're going to continue to shoot the AP. And even there, the Krasny was basically pointed directly away from us, but we're still able to get him for about a 3K salvo there. And down he goes with another Citadel. I think that's the 15th Citadel of this game. We get the Kraken, we get the high caliber. A lot of medals coming our way here. But capturing this base is actually probably the most important play we can make this game, because you can see, even though we're up a ship at this point in time, we've been down for the majority of the game. We're still down on score here. So that's something that needs to be remedied as soon as possible. Whenever your team is down on caps, If you lollygag, you think to yourself, okay, I'll do whatever and then I'll get back to the cap in a few minutes. You're just widening the gulf that you need to get over, to get yourself a win here. The carrier is starting to take a little bit of a note of what we're doing here, and he's going to try to attack us for the majority of the rest of this game here. Just basically trying to dodge him here, so we back up just a little bit, try and juke him, and then we're going to gun it forward. I want to get the cap. If he ends up killing me here with torpedoes or whatever, not a lot I can really do about it. We're going to, of course, try and dodge, but it was very, very important to get that cap. You can see we got 3 ships. One of them's a carrier. They got 2 ships. One of them's a carrier. So just due to the fact that we got 2 cruisers left, they got an Ishizuki, which is a very dangerous ship. He can one-shot both of us. We have to make sure those caps are secured, at least the majority of the caps, before we potentially go down. He did get us with a torp a moment ago. He knocked out the steering gears. Luckily, we weren't really involved in a turn. If we were turning left and that steering gear gets hit, we might have actually turned into that other torpedo, and that could have been potentially dangerous. But nonetheless, we got away with that there. Ishizuki's going low. Of course, we're trying to get some more kills here, trying to get some more damage. But he's going to wind up going down by the other guy, I think. Nevertheless, let's say we kill this Shizuki, we get that Doogie or whatever it was right off the bat, and then there was another cruiser right in the middle of the game, I think one of those Krasny Krims. We could have potentially gotten 8 kills here, and we don't really pursue the carrier. I'm content to just ride out this game. We're going to go into C and go ahead and attempt to flip that cap. We'll see a couple torp dodges. I want to explain torp dodging technique when that comes up, but in the meantime, when we're talking about best ships in the game, once again, Konigsberg is squarely on the top of my list. I would put it up, I got T-61 and Warspite, I think Fiji, Tier 7, you can maybe throw Wichita and Jean Bart in there. Those are probably some of my top picks. Arkansas, at Tier 3 is another one. That one's going to be devalued slightly now that there's carriers in the game, just because it can't protect itself from the carrier strikes, but still extremely accurate battleship at Tier 3. Lots of juicy citadels to shoot at that tier. So, those are kind of my 3 or 4 top picks personally. But I wanted to open up to you guys. I want to get to your feedback in the comments. What do you guys think is your personal either best ship for you to play, or what's the one that kind of gives you the most consternation and anxiety when you run across it in the high seas? But once you kind of compile that list, and you can read over everyone's comments here and maybe get a feel, especially if you're a new player, what ships you want to be looking out for. But once you kind of get that knowledge, then you got to make sure you're translating that into countering those ships. And of course, you want to still be shooting destroyers and radar cruisers first and foremost when you see them in the game. That's a good game strategy. But if you got 2 cruisers running around, one of them is a Konigsberg, one of them is something else, anything else at Tier 4, well, you probably want to get the Konigsberg first, especially if you're in a battleship and you got the ability to blast it regardless, because this doesn't have the armor to really bounce battleships. It can do pretty well against any cruiser that's going to be facing at the tiers that it's present in, assuming you're not in a fail platoon. But battleships, once again, if you see the Konigsberg, just go ahead and get rid of it. Or it can, this game was looking like it was probably going to be a rout for the red team, but for the damage that this thing was doing to it. So anyway, here we got some torpedoes coming in here. I want to talk about hard turns. Now I'm trying to get into C here. I'm trying to flip this cap. If you're trying to pad your stats, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go and shoot or chase down the ship that's running away. Oftentimes these days that's going to be the carrier, but a good way to pad your stats and get higher scores is to capture bases. That's 200-300 XP. I don't know what it ends up being exactly, but your score goes way up the more bases you can get. So that was my goal there, but because those bombers were coming in, we're turning hard, and that's one tactic you can do. You can either kind of point your ship directly at the torpedo bombers and try and split the torpedoes coming in. Relatively easy when you got 2 torps at the tier 3 and 4 level, but tier 7 carriers, they have 3 torpedoes coming at you, so they're a little bit harder to thread that needle. But doing these hard turns, and this works against destroyers too, it kind of throws players off. If they're aiming at the indicator and you're doing these hard turns, look how easy it is. But how this technique works is your back end is actually further away from those torpedoes than the front end when you're turning into them like that, turning really hard. So if you're turning the other way, then the back end actually gets closer to those torpedoes and you're more likely to get hit by them. So if you turn really hard, just punch it all the way over, throw that rudder as hard as you can, turn into the torps, kind of just do a tight circle around them. Often that's a pretty good way to dodge torps that are aimed on the indicator. Again, that's from a destroyer's perspective. Usually I like to bait shots or bait the torpedoes, kind of present a nice straight line, especially showing a little bit of broadside to them, and then turn hard into them when we got the torpedo strike actually approaching like that. That's a good technique to practice. So anyway, the game's going to run out before we're able to capture the base, unfortunately, but thought it was a pretty good look at the Konigsberg for you guys. So once again, let me know in the comments what ships you think are the best in the game. I'm interested to hear from you guys on that. That'll do it for that one, though. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. We got lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys, and see y'all later. Peace.